Jake stared at the poster on the hospital wall. Bright yellow letters promised a free sandwich to anyone who donated blood. He squinted at the smaller text beneath it, which appeared to be written in about 17 different languages, most of which looked like someone had sneezed geometric shapes onto the paper. Free sandwich, he said to himself, nodding. That was all the information he needed. The donation center was oddly empty for a Tuesday afternoon. Jake shuffled through the automatic doors, his work coveralls leaving a faint trail of what might have been engine grease or possibly lunch. A receptionist with 4 eye stalks glanced up from her desk, all 4 eyes widening simultaneously. "I'm here for the blood thing," Jake announced, pointing at the poster he'd seen outside. The receptionist's eye stalks retracted slightly. "Sir, did you read the waiver?" "The what now?" "The 40-page species compatibility waiver." Jake scratched his head, dislodging a small piece of something metallic. "Is that the thing with all the languages?" "That's the poster." "Right. So where do I sign?" The receptionist produced a tablet that looked like it had been designed for someone with at least 6 fingers. Jake scribbled something that might have been his name or possibly a drawing of a bird. He wasn't entirely sure which. "Proceed to Station 7, the receptionist said, her eye stalks now fully retracted into her head, which Jake assumed was probably fine. Station 7 turned out to be a reclining chair that appeared to have been built for someone with a tail. Jake sat down anyway, wedging himself into the space at an angle that would definitely cause problems later. He looked around the donation center with mild interest. The equipment hummed and beeped in ways that seemed both advanced and vaguely threatening. Dr. Rivka emerged from a side door, her blue-green feathers catching the fluorescent light in a way that made them shimmer. Her crest lay flat against her head in what Jake would later learn was the avian equivalent of already exhausted at the start of the shift. She held a blood collection kit in her 2-taloned hands and approached Jake with the careful gait of someone who had seen too many humans do inexplicable things. "You're here to donate?" Her beak clicked once. "Free sandwich," Jake confirmed, pointing at nothing in particular. Dr. Rivka's crest twitched. "Did you fill out the medical history form?" Jake reached into his coverall pocket and pulled out what appeared to be the same form, but with a coffee ring on it and what looked like a doodle of a spaceship in the margins. "Got it right here." The doctor took the form with 2 feathered fingers, her gold eyes scanning it rapidly. Her crest began to rise. "You've left every question blank." "Yeah. I don't really remember most of that stuff. The first question is, what is your species?" Jake looked at her with genuine confusion. "Human? I think that's pretty obvious." "And you left it blank." "Well, I didn't want to assume." Dr. Rivka's crest was now fully vertical, trembling slightly. She took a breath that made her wing structures rustle. "Fine. We'll proceed with standard human protocol. Have you donated blood before?" "Once. Got a free cookie that time." "Did you experience any adverse effects?" "Just the cookie. It was stale." The doctor's beak clicked 3 times rapidly, which Jake took as a good sign. She prepared the collection needle, which was mercifully sized for human anatomy rather than some of the other species that used the facility. Jake watched with detached interest as she swabbed his arm with something that smelled like antiseptic mixed with fruit punch. "This will only take a moment," Dr. Rivka said, inserting the needle with practiced precision. Jake's blood began flowing into the collection bag, a perfectly ordinary dark red that would have been unremarkable on Earth but apparently warranted attention here. Dr. Rivka's crest flattened, then rose, then flattened again. Her feathers puffed slightly. "Is everything okay?" Jake asked. "Your blood is very red. Isn't it supposed to be?" "Human blood, yes. It's just always so aggressively red." The collection bag filled with what the hospital would later log as 0.5 liters of extremely ordinary human blood, sample designation JK 447. Dr. Rivka removed the needle, applied a bandage that was slightly too large, and held up the bag to the light. Her gold eyes studied it with an expression Jake couldn't quite read, mainly because reading avian facial expressions required cultural knowledge he absolutely did not possess. "You can wait in the recovery area," she said, her crest doing something complicated. "Your sandwich voucher will be processed." "How long does that take?" "Immediately. It's a sandwich." "Great." Jake stood up, wobbled slightly, and grabbed the chair for support. Dr. Rivka's wings rustled in what might have been alarm, but Jake was already shuffling toward the recovery area, following signs that helpfully included pictograms for species that didn't read Standard Galactic. Dr. Rivka carried the blood sample toward her laboratory, her taloned feet clicking against the sterile floor. She pushed through the door with her shoulder, both hands occupied with the sample and her tablet. The lab was a organized chaos of equipment that analyzed biological samples from 400 different known species, plus whatever new variation wandered in from the outer colonies. She set Jake's blood sample on the counter next to the analysis station. The bag sat there, perfectly normal, perfectly boring, perfectly human. She entered the sample designation into the computer and reached for the processing tray. That's when Torgen burst through the door. Torgen was 7 feet of perpetually stressed amphibian administrator. His amber skin glistened with moisture under the lab lights, already tinged with the yellow-orange of someone who had received precisely 6 crisis notifications in the last hour. His throat sac was inflated to roughly twice its normal size, and his 3 bulbous eyes rotated independently, trying to track multiple problems simultaneously. "Dr. Rivka," he said, his voice resonating from his inflated throat sac in a way that made it sound like he was speaking from inside a drum. "We have a situation. We always have a situation. The Galactic Medical Board is demanding results on the Kronis plague samples." Dr. Rivka's crest flattened. "The incurable Kronis plague? That's the one." Torgen's skin shifted more toward yellow. "They want to know if we've made any progress on any of the 47 incurable diseases in Ward 19. Torgen, they're called incurable for a reason." "I'm aware. I told them that. They said to check anyway." His throat sac deflated slightly, then reinflated. Something about institutional persistence and justified funding. Dr. Rivka turned back to her analysis station, where Jake's blood sample sat innocently beside her processing tray. She picked up the sample with one hand and reached for a testing vial with the other. "I'll run the standard checks, but we both know." Her feathered elbow knocked the blood sample. The bag tipped, fell, tumbled through the air in slow motion that wasn't actually slow motion but felt like it should have been, and landed directly in the open storage container that held all 47 cultures of incurable diseases currently being studied by the hospital. Dr. Rivka's crest exploded into a rainbow strobing pattern. No. Torgen's skin flashed from yellow to bright yellow with green spots. All 3 eyes fixated on the storage container. "Tell me that didn't just happen." "I cannot tell you that because it definitively just happened." Jake's blood was now mixing with samples of Kronis plague, Valoran fever, Kralik syndrome, and 44 other diseases that had collectively killed billions across the galaxy. The cultures swirled together in the container, human blood contaminating decades of research in one catastrophically clumsy moment. Dr. Rivka stood frozen, her wings spread in a defensive posture, as if she could somehow retroactively prevent the disaster by looking sufficiently horrified. Torgen's throat sac had inflated to 3 times normal size and was now making a high-pitched wheezing sound. "We have to dispose of it," Dr. Rivka said. "All of it. The contamination makes the samples useless." 47 diseases, Torgen wheezed. 47 grant-funded research projects. "I'll file the incident report." They both stared at the container. The blood and disease cultures continued their inexorable mixing, chemical reactions occurring that would normally take place in controlled environments with proper oversight, not in a storage container because of gravitational accident. Then something odd happened. The cultures began to change color. "Doctor," Torgen said, his skin now cycling through colors that probably didn't have names. "Is that normal?" Dr. Rivka leaned closer, her crest still strobing. The disease cultures, which should have been various shades of green, amber, and sickly purple, were turning gray. Not a living gray. A dead gray. "Get the scanner," she said quietly. Torgen grabbed the handheld medical scanner with webbed fingers that left moist prints on the device. He aimed it at the container, his 3 eyes watching the readout screen while somehow still monitoring Dr. Rivka and the door. The scanner beeped. Beeped again. Produced a sound that neither of them had heard before, which was impressive given that medical scanners had exactly 47 different beeps and they'd heard all of them multiple times. "What does that mean?" Dr. Rivka asked. Torgen's throat sac deflated completely. "According to this, all the disease cultures are dead." "That's impossible." "I'm reading 0 cellular activity, 0 viral activity, 0 anything activity." Dr. Rivka snatched the scanner from his webbed hands, her feathers ruffling. She ran the scan herself, checking the calibration, checking the settings, checking everything she could think to check. The results remained the same. 47 incurable diseases. All dead. In approximately 90 seconds. "Run it again," she said. Torgen ran it again. Same results. Again. Again, same results. Dr. Rivka's crest went flat against her head. She set down the scanner carefully, as if it might explode. Her gold eyes met Torgen's three bulbous ones, and in that moment, they both understood that they were standing at the edge of something that would either make history or destroy their careers. Possibly both. The human, Dr. Rivka said. The one who wanted a sandwich? His blood just killed 47 incurable diseases. Torgen's skin cycled through every color in the stressed amphibian spectrum. That's medically impossible. And yet, they stared at the container again. The gray, very dead disease culture stared back. Or would have if they'd had eyes and hadn't been dead. We need to run tests, Dr. Rivka said. Extensive tests. We need to isolate the active component in the human's blood. We need to... The laboratory door burst open. A medical technician stood there, holding a tablet, their 6 arms trembling. Dr. Rivka. The Ward 19 air filtration system just pulled a sample from the vents for routine analysis. Not now, Dr. Rivka said. The sample contained trace amounts of human blood particles. Everyone froze. And, Torgen asked, though his skin color suggested he already knew the answer. The technician's 6 arms clutched the tablet tighter, and every airborne pathogen in the sample is dead, including the Valoran airborne strain that's kept 3 patients in isolation for 2 years. Dr. Rivka's crest shot straight up. How did human blood particles get into Ward 19's ventilation? The donation center shares an air system with... Torgen stopped. His skin went from yellow to white to yellow again. Oh no. Oh no what? Dr. Rivka demanded. The donation center shares an environmental system with the quarantine ward. They stared at each other. Then they ran. The laboratory door slammed open with enough force that it bounced off the wall. Dr. Rivka sprinted down the corridor with Torgen following behind, his webbed feet slapping wetly against the floor. They burst through 2 sets of sterile barriers, past a confused nurse, and directly into Ward 19's observation deck. 14 screens showed 14 quarantine rooms, each containing patients with diseases that had no cure, no treatment, no hope. Dr. Rivka had memorized every case. Patient 4 had Kronis plague. Patient 7 had Kralik syndrome. Patient 12 had something that didn't even have a name yet because naming it seemed premature when the patient would probably be dead before the paperwork processed. She pulled up the vital signs. Every patient's readings were improving. That's impossible, she whispered. Torgen leaned over her shoulder, his throat sac inflating and deflating rapidly. Patient 4's Kronis plague markers are dropping. Patient 7's neural inflammation is decreasing. Patient 12 is. They're sitting up. They watched Patient 12, who hadn't moved in 6 months, prop themselves up on their elbows and look around their quarantine room with an expression of profound confusion. Dr. Rivka's crest was vibrating. The human's blood is in the air system. Microscopic particles, Torgen said, his skin now flashing colors so rapidly he looked like a malfunctioning traffic signal. Enough to reach the quarantine rooms through the filtration system. And it's curing them. It's killing the diseases. Same thing functionally. They stood in silence, watching screens show 14 medical miracles occurring simultaneously. Patient 4 was demanding food. Patient 7 was asking what year it was. Patient 12 was trying to figure out how to open their quarantine door, which was absolutely not supposed to be possible from the inside. Torgen's tablet chirped. He looked at it. His skin went completely white. What? Dr. Rivka asked. Galactic News Network just picked up the story. What story? This happened 5 minutes ago. Apparently someone in Ward 19 sent a message to their family. The family sent it to friends. The friends sent it to everyone they knew. Torgen's throat sac was making the wheezing sound again. It's trending on 47 different planets. 47? The same number as the diseases. People think it's poetic. Dr. Rivka's crest collapsed against her head. She pulled up the newsfeed on the observation deck's main screen. The headline scrolled past in bright yellow letters. Miracle cure at Xeno Hospital Station 7. All incurable diseases mysteriously healed. They don't know about the human yet, Torgen said hopefully. The headline updated, human blood donor reportedly involved. Never mind. Dr. Rivka watched her career flash before her eyes. It was a good career. Lots of published research. 3 awards. A modest citation in a medical textbook. All about to be overshadowed by the day she accidentally dropped human blood into disease samples and somehow cured everything. Her tablet started ringing. Then Torgen's. Then every communication device in the observation deck simultaneously activated. producing a chorus of notification sounds that resembled a small orchestra having a seizure. How many? Dr. Rivka asked. Torgan checked his tablet. His three eyes rotated in different directions. 300 incoming ships. Medical ships, research vessels, news crews, and something that's registered as a documentary filmmaker from Andromeda. They're all coming here? Estimated arrival time is 2 hours. Dr. Rivka turned to look at him. Her crest was strobing again, cycling through every color it could produce. We have 2 hours to figure out what happened before 300 ships full of scientists, journalists, and documentary filmmakers descend on this hospital. And we need to find the human, Torgan added. Why? Because according to the tracking system, he's still in the recovery area eating his sandwich. They looked at each other. Then they ran again. Jake was halfway through his sandwich when Dr. Rivka and Torgan burst into the recovery area. The sandwich was disappointing. Not stale exactly, but constructed with the kind of bread that suggested it had been designed by committee to be acceptable to 40 different species, and therefore wasn't particularly good for any of them. The filling was something green that tasted vaguely like vegetables but had the texture of rubber. Jake was eating it anyway because it was free and he donated blood for it. You, Dr. Rivka said, pointing at him with one feathered finger. Her crest was doing something frantic. Jake looked up. Me? Don't move. I'm eating a sandwich. Stop eating the sandwich. Jake looked at the sandwich, then at Dr. Rivka, then back at the sandwich. He took another bite. I donated blood for this. Torgan stepped forward, his amber skin still cycling through stress colors. His throat sac was inflated to maximum capacity. Sir, we need to ask you some questions about your medical history. I left that form blank, Jake said helpfully. We're aware, Dr. Rivka said. Her beak clicked rapidly. We need you to come with us to the laboratory. Can I bring my sandwich? No. Jake considered this. What if I eat really fast? There's no time for Dr. Rivka stopped as her tablet erupted with notification sounds. She glanced at it, her crest flattening entirely against her head. We're now up to 400 incoming ships. 400 what? Jake asked through a mouthful of disappointing sandwich. Medical research vessels, Torgan said, his three eyes rotating to look at Jake, the door, and his tablet simultaneously. They're all coming here because of you. Jake swallowed. Did I do something wrong? That's what we're trying to determine. Dr. Rivka grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength for someone with hollow bones. She pulled him out of his chair, the sandwich falling to the floor in what Jake considered a tragic waste of mediocre food. Torgan grabbed his other arm with webbed fingers that left moist prints on Jake's coveralls. They hauled him through the corridor at a speed that Jake's confusion couldn't quite keep up with. Nurses and patients pressed themselves against walls as the trio rushed past, Dr. Rivka's wings rustling, Torgan's feet slapping wetly, and Jake's work boots squeaking on the clean floor. Seriously, what did I do? Jake asked. You cured 47 incurable diseases, Dr. Rivka said. I what? Your blood killed every pathogen in our research database. Jake processed this information. Is that bad? Bad? Dr. Rivka's crest shot straight up. You just accomplished what trillions of credits in research funding couldn't achieve over 50 years. So, good? We don't know yet. They burst into the laboratory. Dr. Rivka released Jake's arm and immediately began pulling up holographic displays. Torgan moved to the analysis station, his webbed fingers dancing across controls, while his skin shifted from yellow to orange to a color that might have been chartreuse. Jake stood in the middle of the lab, looking around with mild interest. There were a lot of machines he didn't recognize. Several of them were beeping. One appeared to be displaying his blood sample in three-dimensional detail, which was more information about his own blood than he'd ever wanted to know. Sit, Dr. Rivka commanded, pointing at a chair. Jake sat. Don't move. Okay, don't touch anything. Wasn't planning to. Dr. Rivka pulled up the analysis of the contaminated disease samples. The holographic display showed 47 different pathogens, all uniformly dead, all killed within 90 seconds of contact with human blood. She expanded the molecular breakdown, her gold eyes scanning data that Jake couldn't have interpreted with a dictionary and a decade of study. The active component is bacterial, she said, her crest rising and falling as she worked. What? Torgan asked, leaning over her shoulder. His blood contains common Earth bacteria, normal human flora, harmless to humans, and catastrophically lethal to alien pathogens, Torgan finished. His throat sac deflated slightly. That makes sense. How does that make sense? Jake asked. They both turned to look at him as if they'd forgotten he was there. Dr. Rivka's crest tilted. Earth is an isolated world. Your bacterial ecosystem evolved completely separately from galactic standard biology. Okay, Jake said, following approximately 15% of this. Which means your normal bacterial flora is completely foreign to every disease in the known galaxy. Sure. And when foreign bacteria encounter alien pathogens, they outcompete them for resources, disrupt their cellular processes, and essentially wage microscopic warfare that the pathogens can't defend against. Jake nodded slowly. So my blood has tiny soldiers in it? That's horrifyingly oversimplified but functionally accurate, Torgan said. The laboratory door burst open for the third time that day. A nurse ran in holding a tablet, their antennae quivering. Dr. Rivka, Ward 19 is requesting immediate discharge authorization for all 14 patients. All of them? They're completely cured. Every test is coming back negative. Patient 4 just ran a lap around their quarantine room. Dr. Rivka's wings spread involuntarily. That's medically impossible. Patient 4 couldn't walk yesterday. Patient 4 can apparently walk now. Quite fast. Jake raised his hand. Can I ask a question? No, Dr. Rivka and Torgan said simultaneously. So the hospital air system spread my blood around, Jake asked anyway. Dr. Rivka turned to him, her crest strobing. Microscopic particles, enough to reach the quarantine ward through the ventilation system. And that cured everyone. Yes. Jake considered this. That's pretty cool. Cool? Dr. Rivka's beak clicked. You just became the most medically significant organism in the galaxy. Can I get another sandwich? Torgan's skin flashed bright yellow with green spots. We're facing the largest medical crisis in galactic history, and you want a sandwich? I'm still hungry. The nurse cleared their throat. Doctor, there's more. Of course there is, Dr. Rivka muttered. The Galactic Medical Board is requesting an immediate press conference. They're arriving in 40 minutes. 40 minutes? Torgan's throat sac inflated so rapidly it made a popping sound. The initial estimate was 2 hours. They diverted 3 ships already en route to another station. The board director is demanding to speak with the human directly. Everyone looked at Jake. Jake looked back. Do I have to? Yes, Dr. Rivka said. Will there be food? I don't care if there's food. I'm just asking. 38 minutes later, Jake found himself standing behind a podium in the hospital's press conference hall. The room had filled with journalists from species he didn't recognize, camera drones that made annoying buzzing sounds, and what appeared to be a 3-headed correspondent from a news network whose name he couldn't pronounce. Dr. Rivka stood to his left, her crest cycling through colors so rapidly it was giving Jake a headache. Torgan stood to his right, his skin locked at maximum yellow, his throat sac inflated to the point where Jake wondered if it might actually pop. The Galactic Medical Board director floated at the front of the room. They were a gaseous species that Jake had learned was called Vexillion, and they spoke through a translation device that made their voice sound like wind chimes having an argument. We are here, the director announced, to discuss the unprecedented medical breakthrough at Xeno Hospital Station 7. Cameras flashed, drones buzzed, someone in the back row was eating something that smelled like burned plastic. Dr. Rivka, the director continued, please explain how your team achieved this miracle. Dr. Rivka stepped to the microphone, her feathers ruffling. It was an accident. The room erupted. An accident, a journalist shouted. You cured 47 diseases by accident, another yelled. How does one accidentally cure everything? A third demanded. Dr. Rivka's crest flattened. A blood sample was mishandled and contaminated our disease cultures. The contamination resulted in complete pathogen death within 90 seconds. Whose blood? The director asked. Everyone turned to look at Jake. Jake waved awkwardly. The human, the director said, their gaseous form shifting colors. You are the donor? I just wanted a sandwich, Jake said into the microphone. The room fell silent. A sandwich, the director repeated. Yeah, there was a poster. It said free sandwich if you donate blood. So I donated blood. Jake shrugged. The sandwich wasn't very good, though. A journalist in the front row stood up. Are you saying you cured 47 incurable diseases for a sandwich? I mean, I didn't know I was curing anything. I just wanted the sandwich. But you did read the medical waiver? The what? Dr. Rivka put her feathered face in her hands. Torgan's skin went white. The 40-page species compatibility waiver, the journalist pressed. The one that explains potential biological incompatibilities between species? Oh, that thing with all the languages, Jake said. No, I didn't read that. Seemed long. Another journalist stood. Did you know that human biological material could be dangerous to other species? No? Did you know that Earth bacteria could act as a bioweapon against alien pathogens? I'm sorry, Earth bacteria can what? The director drifted closer to the podium, their gaseous form pulsing. Young human, do you understand the significance of what has occurred? Jake thought about this. I cured some diseases. You cured 47 diseases that have collectively killed billions of beings across the galaxy. Oh, Jake paused. That's pretty bad, right? I mean, good that they're cured, but bad that they killed billions? Yes. So can people be treated now? The room erupted again. Journalists shouted questions over each other. Camera drones collided in midair. The three-headed correspondent appeared to be arguing with themselves. Dr. Rivka stepped back to the microphone, her crest strobing. We need to clarify something. The human's blood doesn't cure diseases. It kills them through bacterial warfare. What's the difference? A journalist asked. The difference is that introducing human bacteria into alien biology could have catastrophic side effects. We've only observed the impact on isolated pathogens, not on living patients. But the Ward 19 patients are cured, another journalist pointed out. They were exposed to microscopic airborne particles. We don't know what would happen with direct blood transfusion or sustained exposure. Jake raised his hand. Can I donate more blood? I mean, if it helps people? Every eye in the room turned to him. Absolutely not, Dr. Rivka said. Why not? Because we don't know if it's safe. But it cured those people in the ward. Through accidental minimal exposure. We can't just start pumping your blood into patients. Why not? Jake asked again, genuinely confused. Torgan stepped forward, his throat sac deflating slightly. Because human blood contains thousands of bacterial strains, we've only identified the impact on specific pathogens. Introducing it systematically into alien biology could trigger immune responses, allergic reactions, or completely unforeseen biological incompatibilities. Oh, Jake said, so it might kill people? Or cure them, a journalist shouted. Doctor, are you refusing to pursue a potential cure? I'm refusing to conduct unethical medical experimentation. But people are dying. And they'll die faster if we poison them with untested human bacteria. The room descended into chaos. Journalists argued with each other. The medical board director pulsed various colors. Someone threw what might have been a fruit or possibly a small animal. Jake watched all of this with the same expression he used when watching cargo containers being loaded incorrectly, which was detached confusion mixed with the certainty that someone else would eventually fix it. The director's translation device made a sound like a gong. The room quieted. We will establish a research committee, the director announced. Dr. Rivka will lead the investigation into human biological compatibility. The human will be placed under medical observation. Wait, what? Jake said. You will remain at this hospital for comprehensive testing. But I have a cargo run on Thursday. Your cargo run is canceled. You are now the most medically significant being in the galaxy. I really just wanted a sandwich. The press conference continued for another hour. Jake answered questions with increasing confusion. Dr. Rivka's crest cycled through every color in the avian emotional spectrum. Torgan's skin remained locked at maximum yellow. By the time they escaped back to the laboratory, Jake was reasonably certain he'd accidentally started some kind of medical revolution, and he still didn't fully understand why. Dr. Rivka collapsed into her chair, her wings drooping. This is a disaster. Is it, though? Torgan asked, his throat sac finally deflating to normal size. We cured 47 diseases. By accident. Still counts. Jake wandered over to the analysis station where his blood sample was still being displayed in holographic detail. He poked at the display, which did nothing because holograms didn't work that way. So what happens now? Now we spend 6 months studying your blood, Dr. Rivka said. We isolate the active bacterial components. We test compatibility with every known species. We run clinical trials. We establish safety protocols. Can I go home? No. Can I at least get a better sandwich? Dr. Rivka's crest rose. You're being detained for medical research and you're concerned about sandwiches? I'm hungry, Torgin's tablet chirped. He glanced at it, his three eyes widening simultaneously. We have a problem. Another one? Dr. Rivka asked. Remember when we said 400 ships were incoming? Yes. We're now at 700, and the number is increasing. They stared at the tablet. The tracking display showed medical vessels, research ships, news crews, and what appeared to be at least 3 religious organizations converging on the hospital from across the galaxy. They all want the human, Torgin said. They can't have the human, Dr. Rivka said. The human is a walking biohazard. I'm standing right here, Jake said. We're aware. Jake watched as 700 ships appeared on the tracking display. He thought about his cargo run on Thursday. He thought about his small apartment on the station's lower levels. He thought about the fact that he just wanted a free sandwich and now apparently needed to be detained for medical research. So, he said slowly, hypothetically, if I left right now. You're not leaving, Dr. Rivka and Torgin said simultaneously. But hypothetically, security has been notified. Every exit is monitored. You're not leaving this hospital. Jake nodded. Got it. He waited exactly 10 seconds. Then he ran. Dr. Rivka's crest shot straight up. Stop him. Jake burst through the laboratory door and sprinted down the corridor with the speed of someone who'd spent years running from supervisors, debt collectors, and occasionally small fires. Behind him, he heard Dr. Rivka's wings rustling and Torgin's feet slapping wetly against the floor. This is a terrible idea, Torgin shouted. I just want to go home, Jake yelled back. He rounded a corner, nearly collided with a cleaning drone, and spotted an emergency exit. He slammed through it, triggering an alarm that made a sound like a disappointed trombone. The exit led to a service corridor that Jake recognized from his cargo hauling days. I know where he's going, Torgin wheezed, his throat sac inflating as he ran. He's heading for the cargo docks. Call security, Dr. Rivka commanded. Jake burst into the cargo docks, scanned for his ship, and spotted it in Bay 7. He ran toward it, dodging freight loaders and startled dock workers. His ship was a small cargo hauler that he'd named the Adequate Response, which summed up both its capabilities and Jake's general approach to life. He reached the loading ramp, slapped the access panel, and the ship didn't open. Jake slapped it again. Nothing. Lockdown protocol, Torgin said, arriving behind him with Dr. Rivka. Both of them were breathing hard, though Torgin's webbed feet left a trail of moisture across the dock. All ships are grounded by hospital authority. Jake turned around slowly. You locked down my ship? You're a biohazard. I'm a cargo hauler. You're both. Dr. Rivka stepped forward, her crest finally settling into a flat, exhausted position. Jake, please, we need you to cooperate. What you have could save billions of lives. Or kill them, Jake said. You said that yourself. Which is why we need to study it properly. Jake looked at his ship. Then at Dr. Rivka. Then at Torgin, whose skin was fading from yellow back to amber. Then at the cargo docks, where several security officers were now approaching with expressions that suggested they'd been briefed on the dangerous biohazard human. Fine, Jake said. I'll stay. Really? Dr. Rivka asked, her crest rising hopefully. Yeah, Jake shrugged, but I want better food. That sandwich was terrible. Done. And I want to know what happens with all this. The research, the treatments, all of it. Dr. Rivka's beak clicked. Agreed. And if this takes 6 months, I want back pay for missed cargo runs. I'll file the paperwork, Torgin said. Jake nodded. Okay then. They walked back toward the hospital. Jake flanked by Dr. Rivka and Torgin like a prisoner being escorted to sentencing. The alarm was still making disappointed trombone sound. Security officers followed at a distance. Camera drones from the news crews buzzed overhead. For what it's worth, Torgin said, his throat sac finally at normal size. You did cure 47 diseases. By accident, Jake said. Still counts. 3 weeks later, Jake was banned from all medical facilities galaxy-wide after researchers discovered that even his skin cells could trigger catastrophic bacterial warfare in controlled environments. The Galactic Medical Board declared him a Class 7 biohazard and established a 50-meter exclusion zone around him at all times. The treatments developed from his blood samples cured 47 diseases and saved an estimated 2 trillion lives. Jake went back to cargo hauling. 6 months after that, he showed up at a different hospital on a different station, wearing a fake mustache and asking about their blood donation program. The receptionist took one look at him and hit the biohazard alarm. Jake left quickly, still wondering why nobody appreciated free sandwiches anymore.